So how are you?
Very good.
Very good. Doing great? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to congratulate you again on being here today. And the reason I do that is that we've come so far together, like I mentioned a few times, and I hope you're still feeling more in control than when we started. At least knowing a little bit more what you need to do. Yes?
Yes.
So by now you should feel that you could go on any appointment and take the listing or the buyer agreement if you choose. That's the key. You want to make sure that you understand what you're supposed to do on your appointments and have the attitude that I know what to do. I know I can help them if they are, you know, if they're ready or if they're reasonable. I know, and so you have to have that mindset from what we said a couple weeks ago. I'll take it if I choose. And if these people won't listen to you, then you're done. You don't want to keep pushing, being a pushy salesperson, or it's almost like banging your head on the wall because people are not cooperating with you. You just have to let it go and find the next person. Make sense?
Yes.
So let's take a moment, and I just want you to write down. So on your manual on the left side is a blank page. Again, I want you to continue to use that to write stuff. And right now, I want you to start writing down the 8 keys to success. Okay, so just take a moment and write them down. Number 1, number 2. Write the numbers 1 to 8 right now. Write down the side of your blank page, 1 to 8. Go ahead and do that right now. 1 to 8. And then let's mention the first key to success, the most important one, which is a checkup from the neck up, which is, as you said, attitude. Nothing's more important than attitude. First key. Now, we talked about it in lesson 1, but we bring it up every week, don't I?
Yes.
Attitude, right? The cup is half empty or the cup is half full? Well, it's half full. Are you an optimistic person or pessimistic person? Well, we know we're both, but we know that we have to cradle or you know, like to be optimistic, we have to put things in place to stay more optimistic, like your reward, you know, being motivated and, you know, being around positive people and understanding that there's an opportunity in everything, even if it's a bit difficult. The person has to put effort into being more pessimistic, you know that? Because it's natural of us to have kind of like a positive spin on things and a negative spin. Which one are we going to entertain or focus on more? We have to decide. So we're the decider. We decide that you said that you had an appointment, the guy didn't show up, right? So how do you put a positive spin on that? Well, you booked the appointment, right? I booked it, I did my part, they didn't show up, now I go on and find another person, book an appointment, and I understand that there's some adversity, but I'm going to stay positive, and there's an opportunity here, and that's good. The pessimist will say, what's the point of booking an appointment? Nobody's going to show up. And they're just having a pity party all the time. But they have to put effort into that. So we have to put effort into either being optimistic or pessimistic. Either way, you have to put in effort. But to succeed, you know which one we have to go to. Because we've been talking about that. So attitude, the first key to success, we're constantly making sure that you have the tools and the understanding and the you know, the guts or the drive to stay positive all the time, no matter what happens. Because what did we say earlier in real estate? Adversity constantly happens.
Yes.
The second key to success is what?
Appointments.
Appointments. Yeah, that's right, Terry. There's the S there. How many appointments should you book a week? Now the course says a minimum of 3, but you know what? I'd like to see you try to book 5.
Yeah.
I'd love to see you have 10 listing appointments a week. You can fit them in. You know, driving and being there and getting a listing, 2-3 hours, whatever. That's all you did. Now you might say, well, I can't fit that in because I have to book the appointments too. Well, when you have marketing in place and you know how to convert properly, which takes us to the third key to success, which is what? Leads or generating leads. You know, have marketing in place. We take a percentage of our commission check after taxes and put it back into our business, and half of that we use directly to marketing so people know we're open for business. We're not secret agents, and we're committed to that. Everything after that's our money. Before that, 20% is our taxes for minimum, and then 25% of what's left is to our business, the rest is ours. That's still pretty good, gang. Considering that the second portion that goes to our business is helping feed us more money. But some people turn the tap off, or they didn't even turn it on in the first place. We got to make sure that you understand that, and then you do it and you're committed to it. So the third key to success was generating leads. So yeah, you got to pay for conventional marketing and maybe online marketing. or digital marketing, whatever you want to call it, and videos and all that stuff, but you still need to be in people's mailboxes. Outdoor advertising, you know, things like that. So that's our third key. What's our fourth key to success? Presentations. Okay, so there's many different presentations. You have sellers to work with, buyers to work with, different types of sellers like FSBO and expireds, and different kinds of buyers, investors, or, you know, different types of properties they may be looking for. It might be an apartment condo, it might be a big house, acreage, whatever. You might be selling a farm, you might be selling commercial properties. You know, there's different licensing for all that stuff, but, you know, we need to be very good at how we are with people. So before we meet them, hopefully there's some consumer confidence that was created. Like, they've seen our outdoor advertising, we've been in their mailboxes, they've seen our yard signs, they've seen our website, they have seen an influence on the internet with either marketing and advertisements and then social media. So we've got the whole package. You with me?
Yes.
You got the whole package. And then when they talk to you, you sound so professional. The best way to sound professional is ask them a question, let them talk all about themselves and their plans. And you just, well, hey, why don't we do this? Let's get together, and that way I can, and then you offer a fair trade item. You book your appointment. Now you got your appointment, but before you go, like you bona fide it, but you send your pre-list brochure, which helps sell yourself in advance and get less cancellations. Is that good or great?
Great.
Now you walk in with your listing book, right? You walk in, you sit down, maybe you have this on this here, like you said, you can put it on your computer or just use the book. You sit down, take your folder, put it to the side here. What color is it for a seller?
Yellow.
Yellow, yeah, something like this, right? And you got all your paperwork in there. And you sit and you chit chat a bit, and then you open up your book and you say, I've got 7 things to go over with you, and we'll see how many questions you have, and you tell them what they are. We did that in lesson 4, yes?
Yes.
And then you start doing it, and if they try to get you off track, because see, they don't know that by staying on track, you're actually being more efficient for them, and it's more professional. Makes things easier. For them, way easier. It's all for them. So you follow through you say the steps, and you start the steps. And you just turn the page, and you say, okay, let's go over some questions. Like the 7 steps were what? There was a series of questions, preview the property, come back and go over the marketing plan. Then once they're sold on you and your company, pull out some of the comps here and figure out the pricing. You're going to show them how most successful sellers pick the right price. And then move it towards a net sheet, see what they're going to put in their pockets. Once they've agreed on price, hey, what's next? They're going to see if they have any, or go explain the forms and see if they have any questions. We went over all this, yes?
Yes.
And then if they don't sign, we see if you have any questions, and they may have an objection. That's today's lesson about objections and concerns, and then make a mutual decision. So the 4th key to success about presentations is just to stay on track, and you will get more listings, and they will be more saleable as well. And is that good or great?
Great.
And the 5th key to success?
Price and net.
Price and net, okay? So we got these keys. Now some of the processes, it sounds similar, but you know what I'm saying, right? In your 7-step sales process for buyers, there's an 8-step process. And then our keys are also things we want to master as well. So the 5th key to success was price and net. And the 6th key is today's lesson.
Objection handling.
Yeah, which is objection handling, OHTs there. So we'll talk about converting and handling and all that stuff in a second. But what's the 7th key to success, which will be next week's theme of the day?
Business operations.
Business operations, which is kind of what I said a minute ago. Every time we get paid, take a portion back into our business after you paid or put aside money for your taxes. So we have budgeting, and we'll go further in depth. So even if you're brand new and you haven't got a paycheck yet, because some of you got appointments, some of you got some things that closed, thank you, but you haven't got paid yet. Well, they didn't. If it closed, you would have got paid. If conditions are removed, you're in that position right now. You might have had some conditions removed, but you don't get paid till it, closed. So, business operations. And by the way, in next week's lesson, we'll also go over the buyer listing presentation and how it works. Okay, and the 8th key to success is what?
Time
management.
management.
Time management, your most valuable commodity. And I teach it last because I gotta get you so busy is what I'm trying to do that you're almost begging for time management tips. Yeah. So, today's gonna be great, I can tell you. So let me tell you a quick story, okay? So picture this. On this farm, there's an old mule. He's retired. And a mule is a donkey, let's say. Okay? And there's an old well, one of the old ones. You know the old wells where they used to crank down the bucket? So it's big. It's not like a well like you have nowadays on a lot of acreages where it's just a cap on top and you see the electrical on top and that's it. This was wide open. It's old, it's abandoned. In fact, the farmer has got a few of his staff, some of the hired help, to take the brick down from the well, because it was, about 6 foot round type thing with a little roof on top, and they had taken that off. So now there's just really a hole. So picture this donkey, he's retired, he's an old guy, and he's just hanging around, out to pasture sort of thing, and he comes and he stumbles near that hole, and it's as big as this area, and he falls in, and it's 80 feet down. And you just hear a big thud, and there's some dust come up the top of the hole. And it doesn't sound very good for the donkey, does it? For the mule?
No.
And the farmers over here, they're tearing down some stuff or whatever, and they hear this, whoop. They look over and they see this dust, poof. And one of them says, I think your mule fell into the hole. And, at first it might seem kind of funny, but then the farmer realizes, oh man, that mule, they may have a name for it, because it could become more of a pet after it was a working mule. And he just thought, there's no way he survived that. So think of the farmer's feeling, he probably was a little bit attached to it, a big farm, you may have some things turned into pets sort of thing. And he went over, there's no sound, no nothing, the dust is barely starting to settle, and he's thinking, now how am I going to get that mule out of this hole? Then it dawned on him, probably didn't survive. So if I just get the guys to get the bobcat and start bringing over some of that dirt from where we were digging up for a shop we're building, I could just dump it right in there. And I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone by burying it, covering up the mule, which is probably dead, and filling in the what?
The well.
The well, and tamp it down, and it's all good, right? And so he starts doing that. Now the mule was fine, just a little shook up. Mule is standing up down there, it's a little tight, and it's like shaking its head going, whoa, and all of a sudden, a big pile of dirt comes flying down on him. And on his back, there's a bunch of dirt, and the dirt goes down beside him, and he's like, oh no, what's they're going to cover me in. And he thought, that's it, I'm done. And then it dawns on him that, hey, if I shake myself, the dirt that lands on me will fall to the ground. And maybe I could just step up on it. And if they keep throwing this down, doesn't matter how fast they throw it, if I keep on, shaking it off me and stepping up, and shaking it off and stepping up, bobcat dumping quite a bit, as long as there's not a bunch of big rocks that knock him out or something. But he keeps doing it. At some point, he would actually get to a point where he could step right out of the what? The hole or the well, yes?
Yes.
So that's just a kind of an idea of understanding that when adversity hits you, and it's different than sand on your back, but it is something on your back, on your shoulders, adversity. A reason why people don't want to list, a reason why people didn't show up, whatever the adversity is, you need to be able to what?
Shake it off.
Shake it off.
Shake it off and step up. So today we're going to make you objection handling animals. Okay, does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay, so let's see. So the 6 keys of success, you see it up on the screen there. What is it again? Oh, it's keys is objection handling. Okay, but I want to comment on something. Well, actually, there's one other thing I want to show you. I'm not going to get anybody to come up, but I want you to imagine something. Imagine I was on a bigger stage, and I asked 5 people from the audience to come up here and stand. 5 different people from the audience. So that would mean like 5 of you. And you come up here, and there's one here, one here, one there, one there, one there. Okay. This first realtor standing here is representing the 20% of the realtors that make 80% of the money. Does anybody have a blank piece of paper I could use, by chance? And the next group here is representing 20% of the realtors that make 80% of what's left. All right? And then the next group of realtors represent the 20% that make 80% of what's left, and it goes on and on. So I'm just gonna take a piece of paper. I don't seem to have one here, maybe I can take one here, let's see. And I'm just gonna make more of a visual for you. Now I can take, a $1 bill or something like that and tear it, but let's imagine this first group here, this first person that's representing this group that makes how much of this money? This is all the money in the real estate business. How much do they make?
80%.
So they make about this much. So that goes here to that group here. This group here makes 20% of what's left. So they make about that much. Let me just set this here. So I just didn't want to get somebody to stand up here. So you can see, camera may not be able to see it, but you got that most of the money's here. Most of what's left is here. This next group, they are making about 80% of what's left, and the trend continues. The second last group makes 80% of what's left there, and you can't see me in the camera, that's fine. And the last group makes what's left. Okay, so here, 80% of the real estate income is made, 80% of what's left is made, 80% of what's left, 80% of what's left. In other words, other than the first two groups, like the first two groups are making 96 or 98% of all the money, and the other three groups are fighting over the scraps. Okay, now which group would you want to be in?
First one.
This one?
Yeah.
At least in the first two.
Yep.
You hit the second one, the second one, at least you're on your way maybe getting here. But you have to figure out where you are right now. You say, okay, I'm new, so I'm over here, but you got to work your way up. Right? Now, these two groups here last in the business. This group here, as long as they're moving up, they'll last. These two groups here, if they don't change, they're gone. In fact, these last three groups represent about 80% of the realtors that are hardly making any money. The whole group, all these groups together, average 6 deals a year. That's all of them. As a group, as a whole, in your board, the average income, average amount of sales for a realtor in your board is 6 a year. That's 1 every 2 months. So if these guys are doing 50, 60 deals a year, and that's part of the average, let's take these folks out. The 80% that are making 80% of the money, and then the other 80%, or the 20% that are making 80% of the money, and the other 20% that are making 80% of what's left. Let's take their stats out. The first group there, it says they make a little bit of money, they actually make nothing. The second group doesn't really make nothing. And the third group might do 1 or 2 deals a year. That's what those groups are doing. But that's how real estate works. 20% make 80% of the money. You've heard this, yes?
Yes.
20%, the next group, 20%, the next 20% make 80% of what's left.
Yeah.
And the rest pretty well make nothing. So we really have to figure out where we want to be, how motivated you are to move up. I think that if you have the mindset, like what we're teaching, and even if you're brand new, you already pop into right in this area somewhere. And you just keep doing what you're doing, and the money, the deals will come. Okay, and if you do feel like you're over there, as long as your attitude is fine, you'll move up though. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so here's a question for you. And if you solve this, you'll move up. Okay? So what's the difference between the top producer, and maybe a little bit of this group, and the rest? What's the difference? What's going on? Their attitude is one thing, we're good with that, but there's something else. Okay, so make a note of this. He or she is always closing. Always closing.
Ching.
Yeah. And they recognize objections and concerns. So he or she are always closing, cha-ching,
Ching.
and they recognize an objection or a concern. So, no matter what level you're at, so we have people in all the 3 main categories I talk about, newbies, people a couple of years in and are still not at the level they want or they're struggling, and then top producers that are doing pretty good financially but they need to manage their time better and have a life, right?
Right.
All of them, anybody in those categories, if you recognize that you should A, B, C always be closing,
Change.
And you can understand or recognize an objection or a concern. And maybe take it one further step, that you always do something about it. See, you have to be closing for the signature, you have to be closing for the appointment, but you also have to be closing to Ching for handling the objection to get the signature. Instead of folding like a cheap lawn chair and just, like you could be on an appointment, you did everything right. Remember, when we're handling objections, we don't handle them, well, I'll teach you how you can, different times to handle them, but the best way to handle them are after you've gone through the first 5 steps, everything is being confirmed, and then you're in step 6, and they just said, we're thinking of, interviewing another realtor, or we're thinking of waiting until the new year, or we're thinking of, you guys tell me, what objections do we get hit with when we're sitting there, and it looks like they're could be ready, but now they say, oh, we want to do this, or would you do that? What's so objectionable?
We want to wait for the right property to come around?
So they want to wait to look before they list, okay? So that one we're going to handle today as well. What's another objection you get hit with out
The
there?
market scenario,
The what?
the market scenario, like,
So they're waiting to see if the market will change?
yeah.
Oh, it's going to change all right. It's not going to be in their best interest, so they better get moving on it now. What's another objection they might hit you with?
One that I had was, that's actually happened yesterday, where they were concerned was just like, how would getting, how would the purchase affect their finances?
How would the purchase affect their finances?
Yeah.
So their pre-approval process, they want to get that done first for a buyer side. And let's talk about sellers for now. What are some sellers' objections you could get on why they either won't list now or they will if something has changed? Don't know of any?
They want a higher price.
Sometimes they want a higher price.
They
They
no
wanna wait for
longer
a
qualify
better
for an upgrade.
For a seller?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Anything else?
You want to wait till summer?
You want to wait till summer when the prices are lower?
They think
Maybe
higher.
they don't have any other accommodation to
They
live.
don't have another place, okay. Anything else? Well, that's pretty impressive. None of you said that they might ask you to cut your commissions. That's pretty good. I'm glad you didn't say it. So, but they might ask you to do it for less. They may want a higher price. They may want a short-term listing. They may want to not have all the best terms involved. They may want to talk to another agent. They may want to look before they list. They may want to renovate first before, or they may want to try privately for a while. So we're going to deal with all that today. That's cool, isn't it?
Yes.
But, imagine if you're on an appointment, and let's just back up a second here. What did it take for you to get ready for this appointment? You paid for some marketing and the phone rang, so you got an investment in this already, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
You took some training so you know how to convert the call into a face-to-face meeting. You used your call form, and you've been paying for some advertising to get them the phone in the first place. You've been sending postcards in the mail for months, maybe. Or maybe they called right after your first mail drop, who knows? Maybe you were proactive and you were just calling a neighborhood or door knocking, who knows? But you came across a seller and you're skilled enough to be able to convert it into a face-to-face meeting, and then you bona fide the appointment and you sent your pre-list brochure. So you haven't even been there yet and you've already got a pretty good investment in it. Would you agree? Yes?
Yes.
Now, you gotta make sure you got some decent clothes, gotta make sure your truck looks pretty good, decent, not a rust bucket, and you got your listing presentation, and you got your folder, you put everything in there, you're all set. Now you drive over there, now you got more invested. Now you got some more time invested as well. So, there's a little bit of this, or a little bit of this, or that, and then preparation and training, and then get that, drive over there, park on the street, make sure you're focused, get your phone off, yes? Right? And I'm glad all of you didn't have any phones laying out today, and make sure they're not in your lap, because the next few weeks I'm definitely going to be on you even more, so don't get on your phone. Okay? But back on this here, we don't check our messages, we're there, we've got to focus on the appointment, we walk to the front door, and ring the bell, and we see them come with smile, pay them a sincere compliment, take them to the kitchen table, sit down, talk about anything but real estate. Once real estate is brought up, we just flip open our book or turn on our iPad or tablet. More time invested, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, you either spent the time to put all the tools together, or you bought that thing and you got more money invested, more time. And now you're going to let them know what you're going to do before you do it. And really pay attention. I know I've taught all this. I know you've heard it, and you may be thinking, I know what he's going to say next, but really, really pay attention, because if you do anything off what I'm saying, skip a step, do it a little bit different, it literally affects your income and how much time you put in and how you feel. If you're gonna be happy or sad or upset, literally, so important. So you say, we're gonna ask you some questions or verify a few questions that you already answered. Then from there, maybe you could show me around the house, and then we'll come back and we'll show you how we get the job done for you. And then if you like everything you've seen with us so far, after that, I'll show you how most successful sellers pick the right price. And we have some comparables here. That's the yellow folder sitting here, by the way. And then once we agree on price, we figure out your net, then I have some forms to explain. And then we'll just see if you're ready to move forward. Okay? And we'll address any questions or concerns at that time, and then we'll make a mutual decision on moving forward. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to get started with the questions. So again, we had some more time invested, yes?
Yes.
We turned the page and there was how many questions, do you recall? 50. And the last one was asking for the order or confirming that it looks like they're ready. And they may say yes or no or maybe, right? Don't worry about the answer. I mean, sure, if you get a yes, you can go, that's great, you know, but carry on. You still need to look at the property, yes?
Yes.
So you preview the property, point out the repairs with style, ask a lot of should I questions. How much time we got invested now? Now we're well past an hour from the initial time that we phoned them or they phoned us. Aren't we? Way past an hour. Because you got preparation, driving, intro, the lead-in sort of thing, and now we're starting to do the process. So I would say minimum of an hour invested to an hour and a half. We can be safe to say that, yes?
Yes.
Now we're previewing the property, that could take 20 minutes, especially if they're telling us a bunch of stuff. Then we come back to the kitchen table, we went over our marketing plan from lesson 4. We showed them how we get the job done. We told them what's in it for them all the time. This, what that means to you is this. We do this, so that'll help you with this, and that's what you want, right? And we're always tell them what's in it for them. Otherwise, they just got their arms crossed and they're just like, long-winded presentation to them. They're not even listening, right? Rule of thumb number 1, never talk to
Inattention.
inattention, right? So we get over the marketing, they're sold, they say, yeah, we love everything, no problem. We'll be, you know, and you ask for the order again. Well, all begins with our relationship, so we can put this to work for you today, right? Yeah, I guess it just depends on the price. Okay, no problem, let's move towards price. Turn the page, it has your net sheet, you take out the comparables, you follow the 3, one of the techniques from last week, either it's a good price method, the CMA adjuster method, the dilemma technique, or the wholesale retail technique. And then you get a price to put on the net sheet. And again, if it's a good retail price, put it on there. If they're still wanting more, you still should put the good retail price that you know in there to get the net so they know their bottom line. And if they want to try for more, we better find some good reasons to be at a higher price. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so now we've agreed on price. So then we say, well, let me just show you about some of the things in the forms here. There's our fiduciary duties and some seller responsibilities. And we'll go through that. And you take your time and you go through the consumer guide, then the identification for FinTrack, and you go through the form for the seller, not the buyer yet, but I'm just saying you're going through it. And then all of a sudden, now remember what happened. You got a lot of time and money invested. Yes?
Yeah.
We haven't got the listing yet, we're just doing the forms. But they already told you that they like you in your company. They're probably going to use you if we can figure out a price. So for you to understand what's coming next, you have to remember what I'm saying right now. You can't come up with a different scenario. You have to stick with this scenario. We'll deal with the other scenarios as we go. You have to understand that you did the first 5 steps. They love you in your company. They agreed with the price on the net sheet. And when you went into the forms, they said to you, now they'd already said that if we can agree on price, we'll list with you. And then they did agree on the price. Then you went through the forms, and they just look at you and they go, yeah, we just want to think about it now. Doesn't that seem like a little bit surprising now, considering we've confirmed all these steps? Okay, if the steps aren't confirmed, we'll go over that in a bit. Okay, well, just to tell you the answer, is that when a step is not confirmed, you don't move to the next step. If they're not sold on you and your company, you do not go over price. If you can't figure out price, you don't go into the forms. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So to do the forms, you have to have had that all done. The only way you can do that is to take the 7-step sales process and commit to each step one at a time. Make sure. So now, they love you, they agreed on price, and now they go, we just want to think about it. It's almost like you would have kind of a funny look on your face, like, you know, can you guys, can anybody do that? Just kind of go, Like that, can you do that? Actually, instead of looking at me, it looks weird with 9 people looking at me going, you know, instead, just look at the person beside you and give them a look like it's like you're confused, like everything was going so good and then all of a sudden, bloop, and you're like, what? And say that word what like that, go, what? And do that, just try that. Remember who you're role playing with over there. So don't smile. So did the person smile that just showed you that? Tell them not to smile. Of course, now they can't smile. You have to cover their face like you. But you want to look at them and go, they go, now remember, I want you to remember what you, this may get you to be really serious and probably take the smiles right off your face. You just invested hundreds of dollars just to be there. And hours of time and training. And everything was going really good. And then they said, we just want to wait. And you're like, what? Like, feel it. Okay? Don't turn to the person beside you and smile, because that's not practicing it right. You got to go, what? And feel this. This is a lot of work. Right? Don't look mad though. You look puzzled. You look more like, what? You know, like, okay? So we don't have to role play that anymore, but just remember that's what you do. It's a reaction. It's a reaction like, what? And then the reason you do that, right now, they didn't tell you why they don't want to list. They just said, we want to think it over. And you go, what? And they might tell you by just your facial expression. I've done that many times where, without thinking actually, somebody said it and I go, what? And they go, well, and then they start just telling you, well, we're just thinking that maybe it's not enough money. Or we are not sure if we want to pay that much. But our objective in this morning's segment is to make sure we find out what the reason is that they just are not going to sign now. Because it sounded so good. And then we segue into saying, just remember, when they give you a stall, now a stall, if you didn't pick this up, and you probably did, but a stall is when they say, we just want to wait and think it over. Or we just want to sleep on it and think it over. That's a stall. There's nothing else that's a stall. There's nothing else you can tell me that's a stall. Everything else is an objection, except for a couple of other things that could be called a condition. A condition why they can't sell. Can you think of a condition about why some sellers might not be able to sell? A reason why they literally can't sign today?
Mortgage.
Can you think of anything? So, I mean, if they're upside down and they owe more than the house is worth? Yeah, that's possible, right? But it's not always. I sold many houses where the sellers had to pay $50,000 to $100,000 in closing. So there's a lot of change there. Okay, so that's not a condition, that's an objection. Can you think of a condition why some people just can't sign on the dotted line?
Someone that's listed on title isn't there.
Yeah, there's one. Everybody heard that? Yeah. That's on your bona fide appointment checklist. So one condition is that not all decision makers are present, especially ones on title and here. What's another one why they can't? Has anybody ever heard of an estate sale?
Yeah.
Yeah, probate. You heard of probate? Yeah. If you list it, probate